Forests have always created legends. Long before cities, before highways, before modern civilization, people feared what was waiting in the woods. Across America, there are forests where witnesses report shadowy figures standing silent between the trees, ghostly voices calling from the darkness, phantom screams, and the strange lights moving through the wilderness with no explanation. Some believe these forests are haunted by the spirits of the dead. Others believe something far older lives there. Tonight, we investigate 4 forests connected to terrifying paranormal encounters. The Forest of East Texas, Black Star Canyon, Bastrop, and the Sam Houston National Forest. Places where people claim the woods themselves may be alive with something unseen. So segment 1, why forests produce paranormal encounters. Segment 2, East Texas forests. Segment 3, Black Star Canyon, California's most feared haunted wilderness. Segment 4, Bastrop Forest, the burned forest. And segment 5, Sam Houston National Forest, something's outside the tent. Alright, so let's break this down. So we're going to start with why forests produce paranormal encounters. Forests create a completely different paranormal environment than buildings. In a house, walls create boundaries. Sounds can be traced. Movements feel contained. But forests are open, endless, and unpredictable. That changes how witnesses experience fear and paranormal activity. Common paranormal phenomenon reported in forest. Number 1, shadowy figures. The most common wilderness paranormal report. Witnesses describe dark human-shaped entities, figures standing motionlessly between trees, entities watching from the tree line, silhouettes that disappear instantly, and unlike traditional ghostly apparitions, shadowy figures are usually featureless, unnaturally dark, they're silent, and they're associated with fear or dread. Many paranormal researchers believe shadow figures not to be human spirits at all. Some theories include that they may be interdimensional beings, negative entities manifestations, elemental entities tied to locations, spirits unable to fully manifest. And that's part of what I think. I think that sometimes when spirits come through the boundaries or the veil, or if they're coming through a dimension into our dimension and back, or even if they're not dead, and maybe it's just a person that's in another dimension that crosses into our dimension or comes back. We may not see them as a full figure like we do, like we are. We may see them just as a part of them, like a shadowy figure. So number 2, ghost lights. Common in remote forests across America. Witnesses report floating ghostly orbs. Blue, white, or orange lights. Lights normally hover above the trails. These lights moving intelligently through the trees. So possible explanations for these? Swamp gas, ball lightning, and atmospheric plasma. But paranormal witnesses often report these lights reacting to people, following hikers, vanishing instantly, appearing near deaths or tragedies. In folklore, ghost lights are often believed to be lost spirits trying to lure travelers, or residual energy from violent deaths. So phantom voices, one of the most disturbing wilderness encounters. Witnesses report hearing their names called, whispering in the darkness, screaming in the forest, voices with no visible source. Many Native American legends actually warn against following voices heard in the wilderness at night. Some paranormal researchers also believe certain entities may imitate human voices to draw people deeper into the forest to basically get them lost or or to get them killed, basically. Some paranormal researchers believe certain entities may imitate human voices to draw people deeper into the isolation of the forest. And then number 4, this Oz effect. A phenomenon reported before many people, the Oz effect. A phenomenon reported before many people have encounters. And we talked about this on the last podcast. The environment suddenly becomes completely silent, motionless, unnaturally still. No birds, no insects, no wind. Many investigators believe the silence may occur before intense paranormal activity. So segment 2, East Texas forest, the piney wood hauntings. The forests of East Texas are some of the oldest and most isolated wildernesses in the state of Texas. Dense piney wood forests stretch for miles across the Sabine National Forest, the Davy Crockett National Forest, the Angelina National Forest, and remote private timberland. For generations, people have reported ghostly lights, shadowy entities, phantom creatures, and screams. Strange creatures, haunted cemeteries hidden deep in the woods. The isolation of East Texas contributes heavily to its paranormal reputation. Many roads cut through the forest where old settlements disappeared. Logging camps collapsed. Cemeteries were abandoned. Violent crimes occurred decades ago. The different types of hauntings that are reported. Again, ghost lights. One of the oldest East Texas legends involves mysterious lights moving through the forest at nights. Witnesses describe glowing white or blue lights, hovering lights above the dirt roads, orbs weaving through trees, silent floating lights near campsites. And this is kind of describing the Saratoga ghost lights. We went there, we saw some things at the Saratoga ghost lights. It's not like Martha's lights, but there's definitely something to it. A lot of people report seeing strange orbs there, and the orbs even turning into actually apparitions. And so there was a lot of deaths that happened there. There was chain gangs that went through there to create the roads. There used to be a railroad through there and stuff like that. And the guys that worked on the railroad were actually imprisoned, and they were not treated very well. And there was escape attempts and stuff like that. And so things happened, and we'll just leave it at that, where people were unalived, and sometimes they were buried there. So, right along the railroads. Anyways, possible entities. Some locals believe these lights are spirits of lost travelers, dead loggers, native spirits, or just residual hauntings tied to forgotten settlements. Others believe the lights may represent something non-human. So let's talk about the cemetery spirits. East Texas contains hundreds of forgotten cemeteries in the woods. Paranormal reports include apparitions near graves, shadowy figures standing among trees, phantom lantern lights whispering near burial grounds. Possible entities. These could be likely traditional spirits haunting connected to abandoned family cemeteries, which happens a lot. Civil War burials, unmarked graves, isolated churchyards. There are a lot of old churches and graveyards out here where basically they've been abandoned, the structures are gone, and there's just like one or two graves left. There's also a lot of family cemeteries where the families have been buried there for hundreds of years, and a new family moves onto the property or just gets left. The family doesn't do anything with the property, and then basically it becomes public land, and people find these cemeteries and stuff like that. There's an old Civil War cemetery up in East Texas that Joe used to talk about that supposedly is very haunted by Civil War soldiers. One of these days I'm going to head up there. So many paranormal investigators believe isolated cemetery generate strong encounters because they're rarely visited, nature slowly overtakes them, and emotional energy remains undisturbed. Mimicking voices, Campers frequently report hearing voices calling names, someone yelling for them, whispers outside the tent. The terrifying part? The voices often come from impossible distances in the forest. So these possible entities include spirits attempting to communicate, predatory entities, folklore creatures mimicking humans, Bigfoot, physiological efforts of isolation, basically meaning they're trying to pull you into the woods. This phenomenon appears repeatedly across wilderness paranormal reports nationwide. It's not just Texas. So Bigfoot and the paranormal overlap. East Texas has become a hotspot for Bigfoot encounters, strange lights, shadowy figures, electronic interference, and some researchers now believe certain wilderness locations may produce multiple paranormal phenomenon simultaneously. This overlap is becoming one of the most discussed modern paranormal theories. And I've always said that. I've always said, when you look at the pins I've dropped on the maps, on the Google Maps, and I've shown these back in my old videos, you get UFO reports, dogman reports, cryptid creature reports, you get UFOs, you get ghosts and Bigfoot all in the same area. And sometimes it's forest, sometimes it's just a little town where you get Bigfoot reports on the outskirts of the town. You get UFO reports in the town. You get hauntings in the town. You get dogman reports around the town. You name it, basically, it's there. One of my favorite places, Black Star Canyon. Again, California's most feared haunted wilderness. Black Star Canyon has developed one of the most darkest paranormal reputations in California. And it's located up in the Santa Ana Mountains, basically in the Cleveland National Forest. It's one of 3 segments of the Cleveland National Forest. It's kind of in the middle of Orange County. So the canyon is associated with violent history, Native American legends, occult rumors, disappearances, terrifying paranormal encounters, and there's been several people that unfortunately have been unalived in accidents and other things that have happened up there. Murders and stuff like that. So, unlike many haunted locations, Black Star Canyon's reputation basically is largely built on fear itself. People enter the canyon already expecting something terrible to happen, and many claims it does, which I don't really agree with. A lot of people go up there, a lot of the teenagers go up there looking for some kind of paranormal activity. They're hoping to see a ghost or a shadow or something. It's just a good place to get scared, basically. And unfortunately, a lot of teenagers go up there to do other things as well. So, the types of hauntings reported, and we've talked about Black Star Canyon so many times on the show. But anyways, we'll let them talk about this as well. So, phantom native warrior apparitions, which is true. I've heard of a chief in full... he was in full gear. I mean, he full war outfit. I mean, he was dressed to the nines for an Indian, and he was basically on a horse with the headdress on and everything, up on top of the rock, basically before you enter the gate. And so the most famous legend involves the ghost of a native warrior seen standing on the ridges, which is where I was just describing, watching hikers appearing near trails before vanishing. Witness described glowing eyes, dark silhouettes, full body apparitions. Also could be tied to Bigfoot. Possible entities, Native Americans, because of the battles that supposedly happened up there, which I'm not sure that happened. Residual haunting theory, and then land trauma, meaning that because there's been so many negative things that have happened in that canyon with people being unalived and tragic accidents, hikers disappearing, and then basically being found later, either dehydrated or freezing to death or whatever they had. Doesn't take much to basically go into hypothermia, and that canyon can drop from 80 degrees to 20 or 30 degrees, and if you're not dressed appropriately for that, bad things can happen. People go off trail. and disappear, and then they're never seen again. And there's other people out there that don't like people in the canyon that have done things as well to probably people. Shadowy entities. I call this place, I call Black Star Canyon Shadowland, because basically there's so many shadows that appear up there. So witnesses report black humanoid figures, movement in their peripheral vision, entities following hikers, figures standing silently among rocks and trees. All that's true. That's all true. I've experienced all that. Shadows darting back and forth across the road, like we talked in the last podcast about, basically very tall, 8 to 10+ foot figures basically stepping over the barbed wire fence on one side of the road, running across the road and disappearing over the barbed wire fence on the other side. And I think that's more Bigfoot activity. Anyways, so these theories include non-human shadow entities, demonic manifestations, fear-generated paranormal phenomenon. Many witnesses report overwhelming dread before seeing anything. This detail is common in cases involving alleged negative entities. Now, let's talk about that for a second, because there isn't a lot of demonic activity up there. There really isn't. Unless you go looking for it, it's not really there. If you go in with a negative mindset, or you go in with, I'm going to see something, I'm going to see a demonic entity or something like that, or you're going to do something like that in there, you probably won't experience anything like that. Most of the entities there now are human. They're, what's left of them are human. And they basically just like to interact with people. I think they like having people there, to be honest with you. I've developed a really good relationship in my 15 years of going up there with them. They would always let up my K2 to say hi, and we'd have conversations on the K2. Sometimes I get some EVPs and stuff like that. So, number 3, demonic occult activity. There is unfortunately stuff that happens in Black Star Canyon, satanic rituals, occult gatherings, strange chanting, aggressive paranormal experiences. In my time going up there, I never experienced any of this. I did experience, people doing Wicca, which everybody says, "Oh, Wicca is so evil." It's not evil if it's used right. It's not meant to be negative. Wicca is the love of the earth. So I'm not Wiccan, but I just need to stand up for the oldest religion in human history. A lot of religions are based off that. I mean, a lot of religious beliefs are based off of Wicca. So before you go smashing it, go learn about it. Because I have a few friends that are Wicca, and they're some of the nicest people you ever want to meet. Anyways, all right. So basically, there is people that go up there and they do practice, dark satanic rituals, unfortunately. And that sucks, but it doesn't really affect the canyon that much. I think it affects the people that are doing the rituals than anything else. All right, so let's move on. Segment 4, Bastrop Forest, the burnt forest. Bastrop's paranormal reputation intensified after devastating wildfires basically destroyed very large portions of it. Many visitors claim that the burned forests feel emotionally heavy, unnaturally quiet, oppressive after dark. The visual appearance alone contributes to fear. Basically, blackened trees, the silence, the scorched land, isolated roads. Depends on what part of the forest you're going into. I don't want to exactly give out the location I go to, but it is along the river. And we've seen shadowy figures over there. And I think we did communicate for a minute or two with possibly a ghost. But we also had a lot of Bigfoot encounters over there. Every time I've been there 5 or 6 times. I've had a sighting of something Bigfoot related over there. And we've had a lot of the Bigfoot encounters. If you guys want to go back and watch our documentary on the Bastrop, you can go watch that and see what you think. Anyways, the types of hauntings reported, So, residual trauma hauntings. Many paranormal researchers believe traumatic events can lead to residual emotional injury left behind. So, people report sadness, panic, dread, sudden emotional shifts. And honestly, I think that has to do with the trauma of the forest burning. Maybe some people, unfortunately, were unalived by the fire coming through so quickly. Forest fires do move very quick, and sometimes people are not able to get out. Um, so the likely residual hauntings rather than intelligent spirits, maybe. Whatever seems to be there seems to be pretty intelligent, in my opinion. If it's still there, it could just be relief. If it's residual, it could be reliving its death, unfortunately, which would be sad. But if you're able to get a hold of a very intelligent entity and you can communicate with it like at Black Star, where we used to ask it, light up the K2 if you see a big hairy beast out here. Have you seen a Bigfoot and whatever? And they'd light it up, and then we have Bigfoot activity. That was always fun. So people report seeing ghost lights, glowing lights among the burnt trees, strange flashes, floating orbs near trails. Now, again, that's also reported with Bigfoot research. So that's interesting. It could be spirit manifestations. It could be atmospheric anomalies. It could be energy related to paranormal activity. Again, it could be, UFO activity as well. Who knows? People hear phantom footsteps. The campers report footsteps circling their campsites. Movement in the darkness, sound of walking nearby with no visible source. The possible entities could possibly be shadowy entities, wilderness spirits. Basically, if you follow the ancient Indian beliefs, they believe that everything has a spirit. The rocks, the stones, the trees, everything has, the animals all have a spirit. And so they believe that that's a wilderness spirit that could be possibly protecting the forest. Residual haunting, camping activity, residual hunting, camping activity. Like I talked about the other day, where basically a woman had lived in this house for like 50 years. And one day she walked down the hallway. She had a hamper in her hand. She was doing laundry and went to turn to go around the corner to the down the hallway to the laundry room, and turned back where her bedroom was and saw herself walking down the hallway. Well, that's just residual energy, and it freaked her out, but it's just residual energy. And essentially all it is basically the energy replaying over like a rerun on TV. And so sometimes that does happen. All right, so let's talk about this segment 5, the Sam Houston National Forest. Something outside the tent. So the Sam Houston National Forest has become one of Texas' most active wilderness paranormal spots. The massive isolated forest is connected to ghost sightings, UFO reports, cryptid encounters, shadowy figures, and terrifying campsite experiences. Many encounters actually happen late at night around campsites. So the types of hauntings that are reported: shadowy figures near campsites, dark figures standing beyond the firelight, movement between trees, entities watching tents silently. So these entities could possibly include human spirits, shadowy entities, or shadow people, interdimensional beings, cryptid / paranormal overlap. Like Bigfoot or maybe Dogman, that they are reported down in this area. People hear phantom screams. Number 2, witnesses report screams deep in the woods, crying sounds, even like noises that sound wrong. Possible entities. This could be, possible explanations. Let's say wildlife misidentification, residual hauntings, paranormal mimic phenomenon. Again, that I told you that story about the guy that lived up in the woods. He had a farm up there, and along the edge of the woods, he was walking one day, and he could see his house, and he saw his wife and daughter leave to go into town. and he was walking along the woods after they left, checking his crops, and he heard his wife's voice call out his name from the forest. Could that be, could that happened in the Sam Houston National Forest, I believe. Could that be, a Bigfoot? Could it be a ghost? Could it be something else? Who knows? Who knows what's out there? So ghost lights and UFO activity. So reports include floating lights between trees, glowing orbs, silent lights in the sky, lights descending into the forest. So the paranormal theory is that areas with repeated UFO sightings may experience increased paranormal activity. This is actually becoming very popular in paranormal communities. I'm not so sure Bigfoot's not being abducted by aliens, if you will. If you remember Laura's story, one of our paranormal witnesses that basically gets abducted by aliens every once in a while, she thought she saw a Bigfoot on a craft. So who knows? You guys got to make up your own mind. So campsite disturbances, one of the most terrifying and repeated reports. So the witnesses describe footsteps around tents, with branches snapping, objects moved overnight, pressure outside tents, like something's pushing on the tent from the outside, pushing it in, feeling surrounded, the psychological terror of being isolated deep in the woods makes these encounters especially intense. So my final analysis, basically the shared patterns, So my final analysis, the shared paranormal patterns across all four forests. Despite being in different locations, all four forests share similar reports and phenomena. Shadowy figures, ghostly lights, phantom voices, emotional dread, silence before activity, feelings of being watched. This raises disturbing questions. Why did the forests across America generate the same paranormal experiences? Have you guys had an experience in the forest? Feel free to contact me. Email me, go on our Facebook account and, message me there if you want. Basically call me, whatever. Let me know about your experiences. Comment down below. And I just ask that everybody please be kind in the comments. Please don't be mean to people, especially if they're reporting something that you don't believe in. These are their experiences, not yours. Just remember that everybody has different experiences. Everybody interprets things different ways. So in closing, maybe forests remember things. Maybe violence. Maybe death. And fear leaves the energy behind amongst the trees. Or maybe there's places deep in the wilderness where there's something older than us still waits in the darkness. The forest of East Texas, Black Star Canyon, Bastrop, and the Sam Houston National Forest. 4 locations connected by the same terrifying possibility that sometimes the woods are not empty. Alright guys, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we will catch you guys on the next one.